everyone, welcome to TechVision Live, CDW's interactive video show for IT pros, where you get to be part of the action. My name is Stacy, and I'm here at CDW's executive offices north of Chicago. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. For sure, summer is winding down. The kids are now back in school, and you know what this means. Football season has begun. Here's what we want you to know today. Are any of you NFL players or, players, are you fans of the NFL or college football? So we want to know who you are rooting for. Let us know in the comments now. For sure, we're happy to say that the Bears are undefeated at this point. And if you're watching 3 weeks from now, we apologize for our error, because they haven't started yet. But anyway, as the saying goes, offense wins games and defense wins championships. Which reminds me of our topic today. We're talking security, and today's episode is going to be great. We have moderators in the comments now who are happy to answer any questions or track down resources for you. So use them wisely. Let's dig in. We have reached a tipping point when it comes to the volume and dynamics of the threats we face. The landscape is not only changing, but seemingly shifts on a daily basis. And to complicate matters further, as the world grows increasingly connected, organizations are becoming more vulnerable. Despite this complicated landscape, one thing is clear: security and businesses are tightly intertwined. Data and information are tied directly to profit, and breaches are no longer mere inconveniences. And they're not perpetrated by amateurs. While breaches can't be avoided, risk and impact can be mitigated. Security in today's world is daunting, and it can be confusing trying to keep up with the right protection measures. But you're in luck, because today we're sharing insights from some of the best and brightest security minds in the industry today on how organizations can prepare to meet a new generation of attacks with new technology. We hope you'll stick around, because we have a lot to talk about today when it comes to security, including what folks were talking about at last week's VMworld. So let's check in with Marcia to learn more and see a security demo of a product that can help tackle some of these formidable challenges. TechVision Live starts now.
In the past, desktops, business apps, and critical infrastructure were all located behind the firewall. Now more than ever, users are connecting from many locations, different types of devices, and off-network. It makes life easier for employees, but that increases risk for a company. Today we are joined by CDW coworker Michael Lane, Field Solutions Architect for Security. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thank you, Marcia.
So we want to learn from you on how companies can better manage their risk. Tell us more about Cisco Umbrella.
So Cisco Umbrella is a great, easy-to-deploy security tool for organizations from small to large. It can protect your computers both on and off the network.
Can you show us some of the key features of the solution?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Let me get over to our demo system here. So this is the Cisco Umbrella interface. Cisco's done a great job of keeping this clean and easy to use as well.
Nice interface.
Yeah, we can see right off the bat that there's malware and command and control traffic happening in this network, so there's bad things afoot, and using this we can go and investigate those. Before we start the investigations though, we can see the deployment health of our different Umbrella deployment options. We have our active networks, we have our roaming clients, and our virtual appliances that tie our users into the IP addresses that we have on the network. We scroll down a little bit and we can see the network request breakdown. We can see our total requests and then the different things that are blocked for different security reasons. So there's various security reasons, malware, phishing, and command and control traffic in the network. The command and control traffic, this actually means there is malware in the network and it's trying to phone home, but Umbrella is stopping it from phoning home.
So there are lots of different peaks and valleys. Can you explain why something might dip or
Sure, that just
skyrocket?
means there's different numbers of requests coming through at different times of the day. So, for instance, in this deployment, it appears at 4 a.m. in the morning, there's a lot more bad stuff happening than at 8 p.m.
Really? Okay. So how does the Cisco umbrella get deployed throughout an organization?
So there's a few different deployment options. I'll go over a couple of them with you. We'll start by looking at the network deployment option. So this is how you'd protect an entire site or an entire office building that has its own internet connection. So for instance, in this example, the New York City office has this internet IP address. What we do is we let Umbrella know what IP address we have so that when we send it requests, it knows that this is our site. And then we point our internal DNS servers to Umbrella to direct all of our IP lookups to Umbrella. And at that point, we are now secure with Umbrella.
Now that helps out with offices and locations that you know about, but what if a coworker takes their laptop or their device off-site to, for example, a cafe or somewhere else?
Sure, that's where the roaming client comes into play. So I'm going to go over here to roaming computers, and you can see that there's several computers that this has been installed on. So this is an application we're going to install that will connect our computers to Umbrella when they're off the network. It's very simple to download and install. You can see we just click here, and then we can go download the roaming client for either Windows or Mac. So I already went and downloaded it on our demo computer. So you can see here there's the file here, the roaming client. I'm just going to double click this to get the installation going. And it's a pretty simple installation process. I'm just going to click yes to everything as one does during an installation. Of course, we always want to read everything first, but for this, we'll get it going. Enter my admin password.
It's not password, is it?
It is not password, no. It's kind of simple though for a demo. And you can see the installer gets going and it installs. Now it's going to take 20 or 30 seconds for this installation to actually finish. Now normally, for large organizations, they would actually package this using a software management tool, and then they could deploy it to all of their computers very quickly, whether it's 10 or 1,000 computers. The additional component to know about with Umbrella as well is there's a certificate that you normally want to install too.
Okay.
And what this does is this lets your computer know that it can trust Umbrella, because it is going to be intercepting some of your web traffic, which can look like a security threat. We have to tell the computer, no, we can go ahead and trust Umbrella. And that can be packaged up and installed just like the client.
So once it's installed, give us some more examples of how it works.
So what it does is, it's like a phone book. So you go to look up a phone number, and it's going to verify that that phone number is safe, and if it's not safe, it actually is going to tell you to go somewhere else.
Can a solution like this one work alongside other security measures a company might already have in place?
Absolutely. Umbrella is going to work alongside your firewalls and other security tools that are already there. It really acts as the base layer, though, and it's hopefully going to stop the threats before they even get to the firewall or other tools. And it looks like the installation's finished now. So we're going to go to a website now. I've got a link here to internetbadguys.com.
Don't click on it.
So go ahead and double click that.
Oh no, too late. Oh.
And look, it's blocked due to a phishing threat.
Perfect. So it saves us from ourselves.
Exactly.
Fascinating. Seems like a very comprehensive tool to help organizations mitigate security risks. Thank you so much, Michael.
It was my pleasure.
All right. To learn more about the Cisco umbrella, visit cdw.com/Cisco.
Fascinating. And hopefully that's helpful for organizations out there needing some help with security. Thanks so much to Michael for some very useful information. Well, recently, Marcia also had a chance to catch up with one of CDW's security experts, Jeff Falcon, for an in-depth discussion around security. Let's take a look.
Today, a cyber attack can shut down a business. A single bad actor can drain accounts and hold data hostage. When a business can't make payroll because of a breach, security becomes a much different and bigger story. But it's not all doom and gloom. Because there's so much riding on security, the C-suite has become involved in the conversation. And with a strong business case, IT is making inroads with a new seat at the table. The organizations that are most prepared for the shifting cybersecurity landscape are those that understand there is no such thing as prevention, best practices, or a one-size-fits-all solution. To really dig into the topic of managing risk, we invited Jeff Falcon, Principal Solution Architect for CDW's security practice. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me, Marcia.
So are you ready to talk security?
I am ready to talk. Let's go.
Okay, so the number of records compromised in Q1 and Q2 of 2018 have already surpassed the total number of breached records for all of 2017, according to a report from the Identity Theft Resource Center. Jeff, what causes data to become vulnerable? How did we get to the point where there is a major breach of data almost monthly?
Right. So the IT landscape has changed. It has transformed dramatically over the past few years. We look at the amount of devices, the amount of applications, and the amount of mobility and cloud capabilities that are developing now inside of organizations. Back in the old days, if you will, when IT was really consolidated to maybe just a single location or a multiple set of locations that were interconnected, the internet was really just a basic way to perform communications and to conduct some basic business processes to either solve the problems for their customers, generate revenue, or to achieve the goals of those organizations. With the advent of the public cloud and where IT is moving in terms of globally dispersed economic developments, large merger and acquisitions, and really just the complexity of today's global landscape, so much has gone into technology from not only an innovative standpoint, but threat actors, bad behaviors on where users are applying those technologies to their devices, and also just the global landscape as a whole has changed economically and politically.
The security team at CDW has done over 4,000 security assessments. What did you find, and what lessons have you learned?
Absolutely. So the CDW security practice has been performing security assessments on behalf of our customers for over 20 years. And some of the common findings that have been revealed across organizations of all shapes and sizes in vertical markets seem to be reoccurring in the form of poor patch management. So patching systems, not only from a Microsoft perspective, but patching third-party systems, patching browsers. Patching behavior and patching disciplines is critical. Also password management. Password management is something that we sometimes throw to the wayside, but it's incredibly important to make sure that we're constantly rotating our passwords, we're strengthening them, and we're not using the most commonly, easily guessable passwords based on the season or your favorite sports team. Also the trust relationships between systems. This is critical. Trust relationships have to do with the fact that systems are inadvertently talking to other systems on the network that maybe shouldn't be. This is almost the equivalent of lighting a match in a fireworks factory when ransomware hits. Too flat, not segmented. Trust relationships between systems needs to be brokered and managed effectively. And also phishing. Phishing emails have gone on the rise over the past couple of years, and it is absolutely one of the more critical problems within any organization right now. Users are being tricked. They are clicking on malicious content. They are being redirected to bad websites, and it is the root cause of much of the cyber criminal activity that we see in the market these days.
Jeff, what are the biggest sources of vulnerability within organizations? Where do most organizations get burned or not realize they're most at risk?
When we look at where many organizations need to focus on areas of improvement, another set of factors come into the discussion. We look at broad sweeping needs over the control for segmentation within the network. And again, networks have by and large improved in terms of their ability to provide access and data control to the right users, but there's still a long way to go in this area. Often we find that organizations are just designing too flat of an architecture, which really paves the way for a determined adversary or a threat actor to move laterally to compromise systems and to move from a jump box to a critical asset within the organization. So segmentation is vital. Again, we also look back to password management, managing passwords not only from a user standpoint, but looking at it from an administrator perspective. Administrative access to credentials that are applied to less secure systems is one of the findings that we almost find reoccurring themselves every time we engage with a client. So again, an administrator that is just simply trying to do some routine performance on an endpoint is applying their secret credentials to a less secure system. Those are typically fingerprinted or hashed down on the endpoint, which causes a paper trail for cybercriminal activity to find their way to more critical assets. We also look at access control. And again, we start to look at the data itself in terms of being the most critical, most vital function to an organization. There's too much access to information for users just to simply get their job done. So we also want to look at where there might be areas of improvement for bidirectional communication for users to access the data for exactly the needs that they need to perform their job role. So access control is vital. And also multi-factor authentication. We start looking at multi-factor or two-factor authentication really as a simple analogy as a seatbelt, the seatbelt of your car. So you sit in, you buckle, and you go. That's how multi-factor should be applied to network design and architecture to critical applications and infrastructure.
With such diversified lurking threats, how can we guarantee the security of our data and systems?
So this is a tough one. There's absolutely no way to guarantee that we can prevent all things that are bad or evil from infiltrating our network. It absolutely should be presumed that there is some type of evil or bad acting happening on our network at any given time. It's the proper posture and the right mindset and disposition to take as we're building and designing architectures and security programs in this day and age. So the way that we need to focus on this is moving our thought process from a preventative focus to moving to more of a detection and reaction. So the human nature of things is really to stop the bad thing from happening, make the bad person go away, and to build a wall or a perimeter, and so that will make us safe and secure. The notion that we should really take now is how do we quickly identify that there's misbehavior happening on my network? What can I do to contaminate, and what can I do to eradicate that problem? The measurement that we use in this industry is called dwell time. So dwell time is the amount of time that it takes to actually identify when a malicious artifact or an actual person, hands-on keyboard, was landing on a victim network to the time that it took to detect that bad thing or bad person. That dwell time right now is measured in days. And overall, it's been improving over the past few years, but we're still at a period of time right now where the average is measured at 101 days. So it's 101 days to actually detect from the time something bad has happened to the time that we actually realize it. This is far too much time. So the improvement efforts that we need to design are all centered around detection and the reaction to finding what that bad thing is, containing it, and removing it from our organization as quickly as possible.
Talk to us a little bit about vulnerability scans and penetration testing. Where do you see organizations lacking knowledge in these areas?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I think it's very important to make the distinction between a vulnerability assessment and a penetration test. They are two separate things. There's a lot of confusion in the market, and oftentimes organizations make the mistake of paying a premium and investing the time and money for what they thought was going to be a full comprehensive assessment of their organizational risks, while at the same time really what was promised to them was the delivery of a vulnerability assessment. So vulnerability assessments are simply taking stock of where an organization is vulnerable from an application and from a system perspective. A penetration test is now taking a professional, determined human being that is representing themselves as a threat actor, or actually utilizing the tactics, tools, and the procedures as if though it were a dress rehearsal for an actual attack.
So what are the differences between the two approaches, and where can you provide some new insight for IT decision makers?
Absolutely. So when we look at the distinction between vulnerability assessments and penetration testing, it's mindful to keep aware that vulnerability assessments are important. They're often aligned to some type of compliance or checkbox or third-party audit requirement for a particular organization. These are things that are just healthy and good-natured things to do for security-conscious organizations. Finding and identifying where you can make those areas of improvement, patching those systems, and getting back into production as quickly as possible, thus hence minimizing your exposure to risk and minimizing that footprint. On the opposite side, when we look at penetration testing, this is now a widespread area of services that can diversify themselves, but they're very centered around the sophisticated nature of what a determined adversary, a threat actor, or potentially based upon your organization or institution, some type of nation-state sponsored attack prevention program. What that really means is we're going to run through a dress rehearsal. We're going to run through the tactics, the tools, the procedures that an actual cybercriminal organization or potentially a nation-state sponsored threat actor organization would execute in order to compromise your confidential information or to simply steal some type of monetary withdrawal that you could have in your reserves. So ultimately, a penetration test exercises all the behaviors necessary that an organization needs to take to prevent those bad things from happening. One sidebar example of this would be the combination of a red team, so red being offense, blue being defense, a red-blue team exercise where we're actually educating our customers on the tactics, the behaviors, all the strategies that a cybercriminal organization would dispatch and deploy, and then helping build the strategy to defend that. So we affectionately call that a purple team exercise, the combination of red and blue. This is just one example of the multitude of diversification offered within a pen testing exercise.
What should IT leaders be looking for in a partner? And how does CDW help customers tackle these challenges?
So the cybersecurity space is extremely crowded, and not only are there thousands of different manufacturers creating tens of thousands of different products, components, and features, but it's also one that is confusing in terms of what strategy should be implemented. Is there a proper framework? Is there a playbook? Is there a runbook that I should be designing? And who can I turn to for the ability to leverage expertise and partner together to build out a formal strategy that makes sense for my particular organization? So CDW provides this in the form of being a true cybersecurity and consulting firm. We have over 2 decades of experience across all vertical markets. And so we apply this methodology in order to help build the proper defense in depth strategy by helping our customers assess, design, deploy, and manage the right IT mix to help build that strategy on their behalf.
Thanks so much for your time and insight today, Jeff.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
So for more information about how to mitigate risks, download CDW's Cybersecurity Insight Report at cdw.com/security.
Awesome. So those are definitely some great thoughts there from Jeff. The report that Marcia mentioned is a great resource to learn more about this important topic. So check the comments for the link. If you have any questions for our guests about security, be sure to put them in the comments and we'll get them answered for you. And as we mentioned, we were at VMworld just last week. Were any of you all there too? Well, it was a great event because we got a chance to talk with a lot of customers, partners, and IT experts. And there was actually a lot of discussion around cloud. In fact, we put up a poll on Twitter asking folks about their cloud strategy for the next 3 to 5 years. And moving to a hybrid cloud model got the most votes. So what about you? Are you moving to a hybrid cloud model as part of your cloud strategy? Let us know. We're really curious to learn more. A lot of the questions we were getting around cloud from attendees focused on, number 1, how do you get started? Number 2, how do you manage the cloud? Or number 3, how do you secure the cloud? So what's on top of mind for you? Tell us in the comments below. And if you have any questions or are curious about the solutions and services available out there, check out cdw.com/security. Well, everyone, that is it for us today. Make sure to watch our Facebook page for information on our next episode of TechVision Live that's coming up soon, actually next Wednesday at the same time on September 12th. So, in the meantime, enjoy your kids being back at school, enjoy some football, and keep on teching.